Book 2, Part 3 of Ovid's Metamorphoses. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Raven Notation. Metamorphoses by Publius Ovidius Naso. Translated by Brooks Moore. Book 2, Part 3. Chiron, the centaur, taught his pupil, proud that he was honored by that godlike charge. Behold his lovely daughter, who was born beside the margin of a rapid stream, came forward, with her yellow hair as gold adorn her shoulders. She was known by name Ocyro. The hidden things that fate conceals, she had the power to tell, for not content was she to learn her father's arts, but rather pondered on mysterious things. So when the god of frenzy warmed her breast, gazing on Aesculapius, the child of Phoebus and Coronis, while her soul was gifted with prophetic voice, she said, O thou, who wilt bestow on all the world the blessed boon of health, increase in strength, to thee shall mortals often owe their lives. To thee is given the power to raise the dead. But when against the power of deities thou shalt presume to dare thy mortal skill, the bolts of Jove will shatter thy great might, and health no more be thine from thence to grant. And from a god thou shalt return to dust, and once again from dust become a god, and thou shalt thus renew thy destiny. And thou, dear Father Chiron, brought to birth with pledge of an immortal life, informed with ever-during strength, when biting flames of torment from the baneful serpent's blood are coursing in thy veins, thou shalt implore a welcome death, and thy immortal life the gods shall suffer to the power of death, and the three destinies shall cut thy thread. She would continue these prophetic words, but tears unbidden trickled down her face, and, as it seemed her sighs would break her heart, she thus bewailed, The fates constrain my speech, and I can say no more. My power has gone. Alas, my art, although of little force and doubtful worth, has brought upon my head the wrath of heaven. O wherefore did I know to cast the future? Now my human form puts on another shape, and the long grass affords me needed nourishment. I want to range the boundless plains, and have become, in image of my father's kind, a mare. But gaining this, why lose my human shape? My father's form is one of twain combined. And as she wailed, the words became confused and scarcely understood, and soon her speech was only as the whining of a mare. Down to the meadows green her arms were stretched, her fingers joined together, and smooth hoofs made of 5 nails a single piece of horn. Her face and neck were lengthened, and her hair swept downward as a tail. The scattered locks that clung around her neck were made a mane, tossed over to the right. Her voice and shape were altogether changed, and since that day the change has given her a different name. In vain her hero father, Chiron, prayed the glorious god Apollo her to aid. He could not thwart the will of mighty Jove, and if the power were his, far from the spot, from thence afar his footsteps trod the fields of Elis and Messenia, far from thence. Now, while Apollo wandered on those plains, his shoulders covered with a shepherd's skin, his left hand holding his long shepherd's staff, his right hand busied with the 7 reeds of 7 sizes, brooding over the death of Hymenaeus, lost from his delight, while mournful ditties on the reeds were tuned, his kine, forgotten, strayed away to graze over the plains of Pylos. Mercury observed them, unattended, and from thence drove them away and hid them in the forest. So deftly did he steal them, no one knew or noticed save an ancient forester, well known to all the neighbor folk, by them called Battus. He was keeper of that wood, and that green pasture where the blooded mares of rich Neleus grazed. As Mercury distrusted him, he led him to one side and said, "Good stranger, whosoever thou art, if any one should haply question thee, if thou hast seen these kine, deny it all, and for thy good will, ere the deed is done, I give as thy reward this handsome cow." Now when the gift was his, old Battus said, "Go hence in safety, if it be thy will, and should my tongue betray thee, let that stone make mention of the theft." And as he spoke, he pointed to a stone. The son of Jove pretended to depart, but quickly changed his voice and features, and retraced his steps, and thus again addressed that ancient man: "Kind sir, if thou wouldst earn a fair reward, a heifer and a bull, if thou hast seen some cattle pass, I pray thee give thy help, and tell me of the theft." So the reward was doubled, and the old man answered him, "Beyond those hills they be," and so they were beyond those hills. And laughing, Mercury said, "Thou treacherous man, to me dost thou betray myself? Dost thou bewray me to myself?" The god indignant turned his perjured breast into a stone, which even now is called the Spy of Pylos, a disgraceful name, derived from days of old, but undeserved. High in the dome of heaven, behold the bright caduceus bearer soared on balanced wings, and far below him through a fruitful grove, devoted to Minerva's hallowed reign, some virgins bearing on their lovely heads, in wicker baskets wreathed and decked with flowers, their sacred offerings to the citadel of that chaste goddess. And the winged god, while circling in the clear unbounded skies, beheld that train of virgins, beautiful, as they were thence returning on their way. Not forward on a level line he flew, but wheeled in circles round. Lo, the swift kite swoops round the smoking entrails, while the priests enclose in guarded ranks their sacrifice. Wary with fear, that swiftest of all birds dares not to venture from his vantage height, but greedily hovers on his waving wings around his keen desire. So the bright god circled those towers, Actaeon, round and round, in mazy circles, greedy as the bird. As much as Lucifer outshines the stars that emulate the glory of his rays, as greatly as bright Phoebe pales thy light, O lustrous Lucifer, so far surpassed in beauty the fair maiden hearse, all those lovely virgins of that sacred train, departing joyous from Minerva's grove. The son of Jove, astonished, while he wheeled on balanced pinions through the yielding air, burned hot, as oft from Balearic sling the leaden missile, hurled with sudden force, burns in a glowing heat beneath the clouds. Then sloped the god his course from airy height, and turned a different way. Another way he went without disguise, in confidence of his celestial grace. But though he knew his face was beautiful, he combed his hair, and fixed his flowing raiment that the fringe of radiant gold appeared, and in his hand he waved his long smooth wand, with which he gives the wakeful sleep, or waketh ridden eyes. He proudly glanced upon his twinkling feet, that sparkled with their scintillating wings. In a secluded part of that great fane, devoted to Minerva's hallowed rites, 3 chambers were adorned with tortoise shell, and ivory, and precious woods inlaid, and there, devoted to Minerva's praise, 3 well-known sisters dwelt,